Good evening or late good afternoon. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good. How you doing,
So,
Paula?
welcome everyone to our final Ask Me Anything of the day. We've had a great day, lots of tremendous speakers. I know you all have been taking notes, and fortunately, if you had to choose between sessions, no worries. Whatever you missed, we are going to have it on demand until you will be able to watch it. But tonight, we're going to talk with Chris for about 30 minutes, 28 minutes or so. Please, I encourage you all, put your comments or your questions in the chat. This is an Ask Me Anything. And we are lucky because there have been no parameters set. So you really literally can ask anything. Not too many people would be that brave, but I'm going to start real quick. Chris, we have talked a lot during the course of this day about equity. In all of our sessions, those sessions that talked about that were specific to equity, but it's come up in lots of different topical areas. And one of the things that has been an overarching theme is, right, how do you deal with equity and address it, particularly when you're talking about rural versus urban communities? And as we all know, Southern Company operates in multiple jurisdictions, some rural, and some that are urban, like Atlanta. And so I'm really curious to hear from you about how do you guys at Southern Company think about this issue of equity, and what does a just transition mean?
And Paula, first let me say thanks to the Alliance for hosting this chat and this question and answer session. I'm excited to be here. I got to say, I think it's appropriate that the question of equity continues to come up in everything that we do. And I'm not just because of some of the recent shootings and because of the verdict in the George Floyd trial, and not just because of voting, but because of kind of the totality of where we are and the importance of the equity conversation and all of that we're doing in kind of the world today. And so I think it's exciting. I do say a lot today that I think we're in this moment in time where we can really make a difference around the issues of equity. And more importantly, I think we're in a moment in time where we can make a difference about the issues of race. I've been listening to various conversations about whether or not this country is a racist country. And I think that's a very kind of personal and subjective conversation that we can engage in. But I do think that we have to acknowledge the history of this country around slavery, we got past the 15th Amendment, which gave Black folks the right to vote. And then we got past Reconstruction and had all these laws of segregation and various incidences and systemic policies of discrimination. And then a lot of housing laws and just a lot of matters that have existed in this country for a long time. I think that facilitated and perpetuated issues of discrimination. So I think as we have those conversations, we have to go back and look at kind of the history of this country. One of the things that we're doing inside of Southern Company is having I think a very serious conversation about race and taking time to listen to each other, to talk to each other and reflect on what's going on and have some very difficult, uncomfortable conversations that we've never had before. And so, I really kind of challenge our culture to really have these kind of difficult conversations, because I think that's how we're going to get better and use those things to kind of give guidance to what we must do, what we must hold ourselves accountable for, and how we engage in this work and these conversations in an ongoing way to really, really make a big difference. Yeah, we are fortunate enough to serve large towns as well as smaller towns in our service territory. And we're viewed as leaders throughout. And so one of the things we say and we expect from our employees and leaders across our territory is being leaders in all of our communities. And so whether you're in Metro Atlanta whether you're in Tifton, Georgia, or Valdosta, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, yeah, we expect you to be a leader and to facilitate these kind of conversations, no matter where you are, whether it's the various leadership programs that exist across a lot of communities, whether it's collaborating with Chamber of Commerce's and school boards and different entities to decide how communities want to address issues around equity, but making sure we're helping facilitate those conversations. That's kind of the expectation that we have laid out for all of our employees across our territories to help be a leader for change, to help figure out how we can make a difference and really engage and have the kind of productive conversations that I think we need to have to make ourselves better around the topic of race, but also around the topic of equity.
Thank you for that. And I understand I had an echo, so if I still have an echo, please put it in the chat. I'm doing the best I can. I'll try to jigger myself so that you guys have a pleasant experience listening to this. Let me follow up with that a little bit, Chris. Just several weeks ago, the president and his administration announced the infrastructure plan. And it was a broad plan in terms of the definition of infrastructure. It wasn't just roads and bridges. We saw that they also included things like healthcare and other child care, energy, et cetera. And so we also know that we are moving as a country into a transition that's either net zero carbon, 100% renewables, depends on probably regionally where you're located. And I'm curious, Southern Company and Georgia Power, which is the company that you run, how are you guys thinking about this transition? And how are you thinking about how we have a transition that leaves no one behind?
Well, I mean, it's a very comprehensive, I think, look and consideration, and as well as actions that we've been taking for a number of years in terms of making that transition. I mean, you can look back some 7 years ago, and our generation fleet was predominantly coal, and probably some days upwards of in the 70%. And last year, I mean, we're probably somewhere in the low 20s, the high teens in terms of our coal production. So, I mean, that has been a big part of our fleet transition, as well as our moving toward to net zero, as well as the increase in renewables, increased utilization of natural gas, and all other kinds of technology. And so that has been a big part of it. I mean, one of the things also we have to continue to do is, and we've been involved in energy efficiency efforts for a very long time. And so as President Biden talks about infrastructure, I mean, I do think all those elements, including energy efficiency, should be a part of the conversation around infrastructure as we talk about energy. Yeah, we want to see more electrification. We want to see a greater proliferation of electric vehicles. But yes, we also have to make sure that we're doing things to use energy wisely. And I think energy efficiency is a big part of that. And at the same time, paying attention to affordability issues as we move through the issue of energy, and how we make sure that we're supplying our customers in this country with the energy that is needed. I mean, yeah, there are some new technological advancements that we'll have to deploy, I mean, to ultimately get to net zero. I mean, we'll continue to research those, whether it's additional battery storage, which we're doing a lot of testing across our territory, different carbon capture technologies. I mean, so yeah, I mean, there's some big, bolder research work that's got to be done to get us there. But I think we've got to fully invest and utilize the entire portfolio to get us where we want to go from a greenhouse gas reduction and elimination perspective, and ultimately get us to that goal of net zero. But I think we got a ways to go. But I think the enthusiasm and the commitment by us, as well as by a lot of others, I think we're making the investments and taking the actions to get us there.
So let's talk a little bit about energy efficiency and
Yeah.
how Georgia Power and Southern Company is thinking about the role that energy efficiency can play.
Yeah.
As chair of the Alliance and as a member of the Alliance, you're well aware that we have several legislative initiatives that we're focused on that we believe would allow us to have much larger adoption of energy efficiency measures and create jobs at the same time. We're trying
Mhm.
to do both of those things. Talk to me a little bit about kind of the kinds of programs that you might have at Georgia Power, but also the challenges that you see to make mass adoption possible, things that maybe we should be thinking about at the Alliance.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I think we've done a lot of good work in the past. I mean, a lot of incentives and appliances that are a lot more efficient now than they otherwise have been. I mean, things that I think in collaboration with the alliances, a lot of utility companies, but also buildings, in terms of codes and standards, in terms of what do we do to be LEED certified and those kinds of efforts that I think we all have to support. Yeah, I mean, whether it's LEDs and weatherization and conservation kinds of activities, yeah, we've got to make sure that we're putting in place the right kinds of incentives to encourage all of our customers to be more efficient, to be as efficient as they possibly can be. So yeah, as we go through different rate proceedings and different integrated resource planning processes, I mean, yeah, I think at the outset and at the forefront, we've got to make sure that we're taking full advantage of energy efficiency opportunities and put in place the right incentives to encourage everyone, to encourage all of our customers to use energy as wisely as possible. And so that's kind of been part of our DNA for a very long time. And we've got to continue to do that as we work with all of our regulatory bodies and a lot of stakeholders that we've enjoyed working with for a very long time and getting feedback. And so, I mean, I feel good about where we are, but I'm also excited about where we can go with the kind of collaborations that I've seen over the past few years with a lot of stakeholders that we have a lot of good conversations with. And we've got a stakeholder engagement scheduled next week with a lot of our friends in the energy efficiency space, on the environmental space, to talk about a lot of things that we're doing. And I'm sure we'll come up with some additional ideas to continue to advance in the ball around the importance of energy efficiency.
Thank you. So we have a question here. We have several questions. So I'm going to start with one that's been submitted by Richard Fennelly. And actually, this is a question that I've seen before. I've avoided it when he's asked me, but I'm going to ask you, which is, what can we do to encourage better preventative maintenance of equipment? Right. So when we're encouraging people to retrofit their homes, to increase the efficiency of their air conditioning and cooling units, maintenance still, right, on the back end has to happen to maintain that efficiency. And so is there a role that we can play in that? And I don't know, so I'm asking you.
I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, from changing filters, I think is one of the basics. And I think a lot of people just simply take that for granted. And so, I mean, if you let your filters, particularly in your AC units, your heating and cooling units, go for some extended period of time, you're not going to get the maximum efficiency or the maximum productivity out of those units. I mean, so some of those kinds of things, I mean, just the basic 6 months or a year maintenance schedules to have those products serviced and updated to make sure they operate in the way they should. I mean, I got to say, I would love to say mechanical products and devices can go without maintenance, but that's simply just not the case. I mean, you've got moving parts. There's going to be some maintenance required for those units and for those appliances and for those products to operate the way they were designed to. We just can't put them on automatic pilot and let them go. I think we're getting a lot better. I mean, technology has certainly gotten a lot better, and units are so much better than they have been, but it does not totally absolve or remove the responsibility for us as owners to make sure we're properly taking care of the devices and units that we have that are supporting comfortable living inside of our homes. And we've got to take that responsibility very seriously.
So further opportunity for education.
Yes.
Put it that way. Here's another question, which is, do you see residential energy assessment as an important process in creating awareness and understanding where to do cost-effective energy efficiency upgrades? So is that process of assessment important?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, I think that goes along with my previous answer about not just putting our devices and our desire for energy efficiency on automatic pilot. I mean, so whether it's home assessments and just looking at kind of our energy usage and collaborating with your utility company to come out and do an assessment, I think it will kind of give you insight and perspectives. Will give customers insight and perspective about what they can do to, in fact, be more efficient. And so, yeah, I mean, once again, I just think we've got to continue to push education. We've got to continue to encourage assessments and evaluations, and whether it's more advertising, whether it's more communications from your partner and utility company to make sure that we're talking about these things and giving tips to customers about what they can do to in fact be more efficient and find ways to in fact save on their bills and show direct correlations between better energy usage and what they see on their monthly bill. But I think there's a lot we all can do, and clearly, I mean, there's more we can do, and we all have to, I think, collaborate and partner and to make sure we're doing all we can do.
Okay, so our next question is from a good friend of both of ours, Carolyn Green.
Hey, Carolyn.
She's not one for the softball, so here you go. Today's New York Times had a front page article talking about the increasing threat of power outages in cities. How do you see tackling reliability? Are storage and distributed generation enough? And to what extent do you see natural gas as a part of the future to ensure system reliability?
And Caroline would never expect Carolyn to offer up a softball.
No, she wouldn't do it.
And she did not disappoint even this time. Carolyn, I would say, and I say to everybody else, I think, first of all, you got to use all the above. I mean, I think natural gas, I think other technologies have got to be available, battery storage to, in fact, support reliability. We also got to simply maintain and do upgrades on the grid itself. I mean, as President Biden talks about infrastructure, I mean, I think in some places you simply just have not seen the kind of maintenance work on the lines and on the transformers and on the equipment to ensure the kind of reliability standards that we expect and that we desire. And so, I mean, as you work through the entire process of making, moving, and selling energy, yeah, we all have got to make the investments in maintenance. And so we got to do that on the generation side, be it existing power plants, but also take advantage of new technology. But as we get to kind of the delivery aspect of it, as we look at our transmission and distribution grid, making sure we're doing the maintenance work, like I said, on our circuits, making the investments on automation to do the automatic switching wherever possible when there are issues on the grid. But yeah, I mean, I think yeah, we've got to focus on the maintenance of the system. At the same time, we make the new kinds of investments for sometimes backup generation on the other side of the meter, whether it's Cat 4 diesel or whether it's natural gas. But yeah, looking at the system throughout, understanding the vulnerabilities, and making sure that we're making the kind of investments to invest the issues that we identify that may be risk. And so, I mean, I think we can do this. We got to be smart about it. We got to collaborate with our commissions and with our regulators to try to have the proper incentives and the proper recovery for this kind of work. But I think we've seen and when we have come to recognize the importance of maintenance, the importance of winterization, but just making sure that we are being fully responsible in maintaining high standards for grid reliability.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Our next question, since we're throwing softballs, will Georgia Power increase the cap on net metering to allow more solar PV installation?
Probably. I mean, and like I said, we have an integrated resource plan that we'll file in January of next year, and so working with our commissions, I mean, we'll see what the next iteration is. I think I know we've made incredible progress, say over the past 7-8 years in terms of the proliferation of solar on our system, and it serves our system very well, and so yeah, I mean, I think you'll see some additional investment and some additional RFPs on our system for additional energy as we kind of look at the total needs that we have going forward. So yeah, I mean, we're excited about the solar advancements that we've made, and we'll continue to incorporate that into the overall generation mix that we have at Georgia Power Company.
So let's talk a little bit about nuclear, because we're talking
Yeah.
about clean and nuclear is still kind of popular, certainly in Georgia.
Yes.
You guys seem to be almost the last man standing in terms of who's going to build something new. Why don't you share with us a little bit about the status of Vogel, how you think that construction is going to go? When do you think it may be completed? And do you see nuclear as part of this clean energy future?
I mean, we're excited about Vogel units 3 and 4. I have to admit, we've had some challenges over the past few years. We just reached a significant milestone a week or so ago where we reached hot functional testing to kind of, without using nuclear fuel, but testing a lot of the systems. And then we moved to fuel load. And then our next milestone will be commercial operation. That's on Vogel Unit 3. And we're hoping to get there sometime in December. But if we have any additional delays, it may be moving in the first quarter of next year. But we're excited about the progress that we are making. And we know once we bring these units online commercial, that will be some 60 years of clean, reliable, affordable energy that will be made available to customers in the great state of Georgia. Will somebody else come back and build large nuclear projects? I mean, there are a lot of factors you have to have. You got to have a good regulatory environment. Secondly, the need has to be there. And so, I mean, we are blessed to have the kind of regulatory construct that we have. But we, as well as others, are looking at some different nuclear technologies that we're researching, much smaller modulars. So I do think there's a place for nuclear. Large scale nuclear, I think, may be challenged in the future after we get past our units. So the future may be a much smaller fashion, but I do think there's a future there for nuclear going forward.
In any sense of when you think Vogel might go online? Are we talking 2-3 years out, 5 years out?
No. Like I said, I think right now for Unit 3, we're looking at in December if everything goes well, and then probably the same about a year or so later for Unit 4, sometime in November of 22. But yeah, we recognize. We've had a lot of challenges with COVID. We've had a number of different issues that we've had to wrestle with, but we'll continue to move through these projects with all the challenges that we faced. And like I said, we're excited about getting through this hot functional testing here over the next few weeks, and then moving toward fuel load and then moving toward commercial operation. So yeah, we're kind of excited. Once again, there's some anxieties there, but we continue to move ahead.
So we have just a couple of minutes left. I'm going to invite all of you, if you have a question, to submit it. We probably have time for maybe one or two. I'm going to ask one while we wait. Southern Company announced a $50 million investment in HBCUs. And as we've been talking about equity in terms of just community as well as jobs and workforce, I wondered if you could share a little bit of Southern's motivation and vision in making that type of investment in our historically Black colleges and universities.
I tell you, Paula, it kind of got started from some conversations we were having with some other companies in terms of their comments that they were having difficulties finding diverse talent, and particularly in the technical space, in coding and data analytics. And so one of the ideas was to collaborate and partner with historically Black colleges and universities to support them in their curriculums, to support this kind of learning going forward. And so that was the motivation to spur, to kind of invest in innovative curriculums and data analytics and kind of curriculums that will afford students, once they graduate, to join and to work in a lot of the Silicon Valley firms and other high-tech firms. So that was kind of the motivation for our making that initial investment. We're excited about the next investment we're making now with what we call the Propel Center, that we're partnering with Apple, which will be a physical location to do some in-course, in-class training, but also create a virtual network with all the historical Black colleges and universities to share a lot of the work that a lot of companies are doing, but also to share a lot of curriculum with students all across that network. So, a lot of wonderful students come out of HBCUs, and we want to make sure that we're affording them the opportunities and resources to learn a lot of the new innovative skills that the business community is requiring today. So we're really excited about it. Got great feedback, and just continuing to advance these conversations about equity and doing better in this space as well.
Wonderful. So I'm going to give the last question to another EE advocate and a friend, Kateri Callahan, who we both know and enjoy and love. And Kateri's question is, how does Georgia Power and Southern view energy efficiency as a fuel in meeting its clean energy future? And what is the planned investment level for advancing EE, energy efficiency?
Like I said, Kateri, and it's always good to engage with you. Kateri and I go way back to some immigration policy discussions back on the Hill back in the 80s. So it's good to have conversation with her about EE. EE, I think it starts at the beginning. I think energy that is not used, I think is those are some wonderful megawatts, kilowatts, and kind of helps our system be more productive. So I think at baseline, we start with energy efficiency, and then we work our way through the stack of least affordable, the best economic generation resources as we do the dispatch of our units. And so, as I said earlier, the more we can do to encourage, to incentivize individuals, businesses, both large and small, to use energy wisely, to be more efficient. I think that is a wonderful policy for our company and for everyone to adopt. And we've done that with a lot of work and partnership we've done with the Alliance and many other members. And we're going to continue to do that. And so excited about it, excited about the work we've done, and real thrilled about, I think, the work that we're going to do in the future.
Thank you so much. And we are out of time. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us for EE Global, our online edition. We are excited that next year we are hoping we will all be back together again. But we appreciate you guys spending some time with us today. I want to thank all of our sponsors, in particular NYPA, Guidehouse, and Metris, who hosted our lunchtime lounges. And I'm going to leave you actually with a thought from David Terry and his panel earlier today. Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester said, look, the work that we do impacts people. We're doing work for people, which is awesome. And what David said was, we are impacting people's lives and their livelihood. And there can't be anything more fulfilling than that. So, we're going to continue this fight at the Alliance. We are so happy and proud to have a coalition that is as broad and as passionate as we have. And we are grateful to have you, Chris, as our leader, and really appreciate, for me, certainly personally, being able to work with you and for you. So I thank you for that. Thank you guys for joining us at EE Global. Come back at 6 o'clock where we're having virtual cocktails, and we've got something cooked up where everybody's going to learn how to make a new cocktail. I'm pretty sure most of us don't need any more cocktails in our repertoire, but just in case, we got another one for you. Have a great evening. See you at 6 o'clock and next year at EE Global. Take care.
Guys, thank you very much.